DIYers, you want to make a nice rafter cut? Stick around and I'll show you how I do it. There may be more productive ways, but this is an easy way that's actually quite accurate. Welcome back. I am Blair. You are watching Back to the Past. It is a rather balmy day in early December. The temperature is a wonderful 50 degrees right now. The humidity's high. I haven't seen the sun for 3 days. It's been foggy. You can almost drink the air, but you work through what you can. I've been doing some backfill here on the backside of the barn, and I'm ready to go up with the second floor framing on this end. I haven't been able to work on it. I've had the building covered on the inside, really haven't wanted to uncover it, and we're supposed to get torrential rains again tomorrow. So I think I'm going to work today on trying to get that wall framed, that upper wall framed on this end wall. After that, we'll be working on the beam, and I'll move the camera upstairs for that, but that's definitely not going to happen today. It may not even happen this week. Stay tuned. I think I'm going to call it a day at this point. I'm getting a little uncomfortable with the height that I'm working from a ladder. So for forming in that gable end and being able to set that microlam beam all the way across as a ridge, I think I'm going to have to set up my pump jacks to get any higher. I don't want to be taking any chances of making a fall or something. Falling from 3 or 4 feet can be pretty painful for an old fella, but falling from 15 feet can be just downright devastating in your life. So don't want to take any chances. I'll finish framing up this wall, and then I think I'll set up pump jacks. Since you were with me last, I went ahead and finished getting these studs up all the way across this wall. I put up 1 or 2 more rows of sheathing. So that's taken care of. It's going to be several more before I get to the peak of the roof, but it feels good to have this much done. The sheathing I was able to do from the inside by working off of this aluminum platform and the ladder as I needed to. Now, the one thing I had talked about doing was to set up pump jacks on the outside, but I realized that the pump jacks really wouldn't have gotten me high enough to really do any good when I get to working on that ridge and this gable end wall. So what I did, I slept on it for a couple of nights, and I got to thinking I should just go ahead and build myself a deck up there to work off of. I can get higher that way. I have a good stable work area. It'll be a lot safer for me and probably go a long ways in preventing a fall. The one thing that about this platform, it's rated at 250 pounds when it's fully extended, and it's not quite fully extended now, but there is enough movement in it that when you're up on a ladder being supported by this, it gets pretty unstable, and it just wasn't feeling good. I get a little more concerned about safety and falls the older I get, because I know it takes an old man a lot longer to recover than it does or did when I was much younger. And I sure don't want to do that. That would just cut me down on production completely. The one thing that has been kind of depressing for me, it's almost like I'm in Portland or something. I have not seen the sun in 8 days, I think it's been now. Last night we got 2.5 inches of rain that ended about 10 o'clock this morning. So I went into town, got a load of lumber for the rafters and for the roofing, but it's going to be a day or two before I can get my pickup truck in here to be able to unload it even. It's really muddy. That rain just added so much to the ground that was already super saturated. So I'll get to that when I can, hopefully maybe tomorrow if I would happen to see the sun. I'm supposed to be able to get some sunshine tomorrow and then again on Sunday, but then we got rain moving in on Saturday again and on Monday again. So it's just been really tough getting anything accomplished here because of the weather. Now you can see I've got a platform that is 8 feet above the second floor level. And that gives me a good stable work platform here. I built it good and sturdy and secure. It's decked with 1/2-inch plywood, 4 feet wide. The outside couple inches I wouldn't want to walk on because that's cantilevered. But the rest of it is good and stable and secure, and it'll make me feel a whole lot better about trying to set that ridge beam. Now I've got this as a temporary post. My permanent supports will actually come up 8 inches on each side of it, with a short beam across it that will support this ridge beam. But for now, this is what we'll set it on. And what I'll do after I get this done to the other side too, and I get the ridge beam set, I'll go ahead and set this rafter and that rafter. And then I've decided I'm going to have a vaulted ceiling, which is going to amount to 2x4s that will come from the top of the wall to about here somewhere. It'll crisscross, of course, be secured in the middle, and that'll give me a good solid roof to work on. And once I get a few rafters out on this side and a few rafters in from the other side, then I'll have a good stable ridge to work from, and I can go ahead and form in these gable walls on each end. Then I'll feel a whole lot better about moving forward from there. Still, when I'm working off of the center part of the deck and that opposite wall, I'm going to be working on a ladder. That ladder isn't fully extended now. I think it'll go up another couple feet. But still, I'm going to be working way the heck up there when I'm doing that. Well, the sunshine on my shoulders is making me really happy today. So far, I have got that ridge beam up to where it's kind of balanced on the windowsill up above. I had the tractor pretty much just help me hold it. I actually pulled it into place with a rope up there so far, and it only weighs about 100 pounds, so it's not a real big deal. Once I get to working overhead, it's going to be a little bit bigger deal for me because I don't operate all that well with some kind of bad shoulders. So we'll see how that goes, but let's go up top and take a look from up there. Don't spill my coffee cap. Friction, I'm thinking, is going to be my biggest enemy right now. But we'll see what we can do. Or I will see what I can do, I guess. I think I'm going to have to tie it off there and get on the ladder because my knot in my rope is keeping me from sliding. I can see what I can do from down here. So far, so good. I'll slide it back now and get it on top of the other wall. Then I can worry about raising it the rest of the way. Oh, that feels good having it that far. If there was two of me, I would take this beam up all at once, but since there's only one, I don't want to take the chance of losing one end as I'm going up with the other. So what I'll end up doing is to go up maybe a foot or two at a time on this side, go to the south side, go a foot or two on that side, and just keep stair-stepping my way up. And what I can do is I've got some 8-inch structural screws that I can drive into the side of the vertical 2x4 and be able to rest it on one while I go to the other side. So that's the next step. Well, I got 2 rafters in on the north side here, so it's good and stable. It can't move east or west, and because of the turnbuckle brace that I put in from the south end, it can't move north or south. So this end is good and stable. Before I take this platform down, I will go ahead and frame the gable end wall, and then I've got to make room for an attic vent there too. But before I do that, I will go ahead and move to the south wall and get that essentially the same thing that I've got done here finished over there. And then I'll probably put 2 rafters across the middle there, and that should have everything fairly lined to where the rest of it should be a little bit easier to work on. I've got this end in the same condition now as what the north end is. It's stable in both directions from this brace that I have to keep it from going north and south, and then also a rafter going each direction. So that wall is pretty doggone secure. That beam is well supported, and that's been pretty uncomfortable doing, working up that high with such a chance for fall without really having anything good to tie off to. Now I've got something good to tie off to. That ridge beam on both ends should be pretty doggone secure. I can tie off to that with a fall harness. One thing I will need to do, of course, is to set a couple of rafters in the center here. There is a little bit of a bow, and if I were to try to secure myself in the center, it could roll that rafter sideways without that center support. So I need to do that before I can go on with any more rafters. I need to close in that south end, I need to close in the north end, but the first thing that I need to do is to go ahead and put in one more row of sheathing on both sides. Then I'll work on closing in the 2 ends, those 2 center rafters, and that'll take me through today, I'm sure. And then tomorrow I can start filling in the rafters, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how things look then. Back again, and I got the things done that I'd talked about doing just a little bit ago. And now that upper wall is completely framed and sheathed. That's the north wall. The south wall, I went ahead with one more row of sheathing, so it's 4 feet higher. But the thing that I decided is that that went so well with that platform there that once I get another half a dozen rafters up or so, what I'll probably do is to go ahead and move that platform from the north wall to the south wall when it's not needed there anymore. It'll make it a lot safer. You can't see the south side because it's basically behind you. But really, I think that it would be faster for me overall and a lot safer if I can set up a good work platform there, just about where the camera's sitting. I've got what appears to be a mishmash of bracing, but I look at it and I can't think of anything that I don't need. This one here goes to the rafter on the south end where it meets the wall. I don't know if that you can see it or not, but then there's another one below it that goes to the top of the wall. So to keep it from hinging at that point, I got to noticing when I was putting in these rafters that there was a sag in that LVL beam. So I put this under it. I had to jack it up about an inch or so to keep it straight. This brace keeps the center of the two walls from going like that. And then there's a brace across the top that keeps my 20-foot width all the way across. I added one more diagonal brace from the top of that wall down to the side wall. Not that it's needed so much. It does basically the same thing as this here, except that it's some redundancy because we're supposed to get into some wind starting this afternoon and into tonight. So just a little redundancy for that, little additional safety. That doesn't hurt. It does make things a little bit cumbersome to get around in here, but I'm learning to live with it. And like I say, looking around, I don't think that I could remove any of it yet, not until we got roof sheathing on. To show you how I do my layout on the rafters, I measure from this point, which is the outside of the sheathing, to the ridge, which in my case is 145 3/8 inches. Let's go down below and take a look at it. Okay, so we will start out by cutting an 8/12 pitch for the peak, because this is an 8/12 roof. And something that unfortunately I do far too often is I use the 8/12 on the hip valley, which, as you can see, is not the correct angle. And I did that twice out of the first 6 rafters up there, so I don't end up wasting lumber. I just have to take it down and cut more off of the heel of the cut. And then I measure from that peak, and I strike an arc at 145.5 inches here. After that, I made up a template, and if I can hold the camera at the same time here, I mark this bird's mouth, and then I also measure up to 161 inches from that peak to make an end cut. And that one isn't real critical for me because I'll probably, well, in fact I know I will, I'll end up straight lining that and cutting a couple inches off, because 161 inches is actually more than what I want my overhang to be. And then since my barge rafters are 2x4s and I want the overhang to be just 3.5 inches high so I can use a 5-inch wide trim board, I have to rip off a little bit from the edge. So I take a scrap 2x4 and mark that line, and that's the final cut, and they're ready to go up. And this pair is ready to be put up, nailed in place. I'll go ahead and go into time-lapse mode here to at least get the rafters started. I won't keep it in time-lapse all the way across. That'll take too doggone long. Putting up these rafters is going to be fairly slow because all of my material is down on the first floor level, and it all needs to be cut as I go into place. Now, the one thing that I found in putting 2 rafters on the south side, 2 in the center, and 2 on the north side is that the measurements are all pretty much the same, so we should have a good consistent cut all the way across here. But again, it's just going to be time consuming going down, doing my sawing, coming up, checking the fit, and putting things together. So I'll try not to bore you too much, but let's watch a little bit of it. Today was supposed to be sunny all day, and it's finally starting to break through the clouds. I have actually been able to see my shadow a few times. The more and longer that I had that platform up, the more I realized that it was pretty doggone handy to have where it is in particular. I got to thinking that also then I'm going to have to do the vaulted ceiling, and would I have to go through and set that all up again or do something to be able to accommodate that? And the answer is yes, I probably could have. I'm going to have to figure out a way of getting drywall on the ceiling and that sort of stuff anyway, but working over that stairwell was pretty precarious, so I decided to leave it up and go ahead and frame in the first little bit of the vaulted ceiling, which is kind of cool because you can actually see with the vaulted ceiling the slope that it's going to take too. So not only do we have the roof line to look at, now we've got a ceiling line that we can start to look at too. Since this episode is getting kind of long, I'm going to go ahead and break it up into two parts, and we'll end this episode here. In the meantime, I'll get this platform moved to the south end, and then when you join me next week, we'll be looking at it from the opposite direction, from the south looking, or excuse me, from the north looking toward the south. And I'll maybe time-lapse through some of the rafters going up. I didn't do a lot of that this time around, but I'll do a little bit more of that, maybe more of the framing of that end wall and that sort of thing too. So hopefully you're learning something. Hopefully you'll learn more. Hopefully you're enjoying what I'm doing. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And what I really appreciate is telling a friend. At some point in the future, I'm going to be retired and living on a fixed income. And if I can get enough viewers, enough subscribers to be able to monetize this a little bit, even if I don't make a lot of money from it, I would really like to be able to do that. Join me next week. See you later.